Hi, today I just thought I'd talk about taking photographs of wildlife in your back garden. Certainly if you're starting out and you're a beginner, garden birds are a great way to start. There's several reasons for this. One, they're kind of right on your doorstep and you don't have to spend a long time travelling and sitting out waiting for them. A good reason to choose garden birds as a subject when you're first getting started is garden birds are relatively brave when it comes to being around humans, etc. And if you put food out for them on a regular basis, they'll often reward you by coming along at all times of day, and they actually get quite tame. So I set some feeders up in my garden. They're a couple of metres away from my back door. They've been up for around a month. We get quite a few different species, ranging from blackbirds, robins, blue tits, coal tits, great tits, siskins, greenfinches, sparrows. We have had a woodpecker, which was a real bonus. He came along for a couple of weeks, but I haven't seen him for a while. I didn't manage to get any really good photos of him. Actually, there's a coal tit just feeding on the peanuts while I'm talking now, so that kind of gets to show you how tame they can be. What I thought I'd do today is just talk about how I approach taking photographs of birds in my garden. So as I said, I set the feeders up some time ago. I make sure that they're full on a regular basis. I've got 4 different types of feeder that I've set up. So one for peanuts, one for birdseed, one for sunflower hearts, and another has Niger seeds. Now, each of those different foods attracts different species. So the peanuts predominantly attract the tits, along with some of the finches, and the seeds, they tend to draw in finches, sparrows, and kind of other small birds. Certainly some of it drops on the floor, and the blackbirds and robins come along and hoover that up. Then the Niger seed really attracts 2 species, which are goldfinches and also siskins. And the sunflower hearts tend to be enjoyed by members of the finch family, and the coal tits, blue tits, great tits, etc. Certainly other species will eat them from time to time, but predominantly it's kind of the right food for the right species. So I've set a tripod up just behind me. It's on the edge of the building, so I can kind of use the building as a bit of cover for myself, and then I just stand patiently and wait for birds to land. Now, I have set up a couple of branches which I've attached to some old light stands that I had. The benefit of this is that the birds will perch on those branches sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes they're straight onto the feeders, but if you wait patiently enough, often they'll hop onto the branches while they wait their turn to get into the hanging feeders. And this gives me a great opportunity to get some nice and more natural shots than the birds on the artificial feeders. So I found a couple of nice branches in the woods, and I've gaffer taped them and also cable tied them to the light stands, which allows me to get them at the right height near to the feeder. They're positioned about 2 foot away from the feeder, and the reason for this is if they're too close, the birds just go straight onto the feeder, and if they're too far away, again, the birds just go straight onto the feeder. So by positioning it just about the right distance, often they'll come in, just sit there, perch. They don't stay there for particularly long. You've probably got maybe 4 or 5 seconds, but often it's enough just to be able to get that picture and get a nice natural looking shot of the bird without any distractions in the background. So the branches, they're set against a hedge. It's a big kind of mature hedge, which gives me a nice uncluttered background when I'm photographing birds. So today the conditions are pretty overcast. It's nice soft light, but I've set up a flash gun which I've got a quarter CTO gel on, just to give a bit more warmth to the shot, and the flash just lifts the bird from the background a bit more. So that's the setup. I'm gonna take a few photos now, and we'll see what we get. So the camera that I'm using today, it's a Nikon D500. I've got it attached to a tripod. The tripod's got a gimbal head on it, which gives me nice smooth motion when I'm following birds. There's a Sigma 150 to 600mm sport lens, and my camera settings at the moment, I'm shooting at a 250th of a second at f8 to give me a nice front to back sharpness, and I also have an off-camera flash which is triggered by this Godox remote trigger, and the flash has got a quarter CTO gel on just to warm up the image a bit. Now the advantage of using just a wee burst of flash in there is that I can darken down my background while still illuminating my subject, and the quarter CTO gel will just warm up the image a bit. It's quite a dull, overcast day today, quite cold, but as I say, dull and overcast, so that will just help kind of lift the photo. So let's see what we can get here. So I'm pre-focused on the branch, just so that as soon as birds land on it, I can quickly obtain focus, get the image. I've got probably 5 to 6 seconds if a bird lands on the branch, and as I say, they don't always land there, so it is a case of waiting. So that's a quick run through how I go about photographing garden birds, and how I've kind of set things up to try and make things quite easy. So it's quite convenient and good practice for, as I say, getting onto trickier subjects that are shyer and a bit harder to get close to. And please subscribe. Hope to be doing some more in the coming weeks. Thanks for watching. See you now.